Good morning and happy Monday. We're here with another Emergence of Being podcast talking about even that. Welcome, welcome. So, for those of you who don't know, I've been watching a lot of this channeler named Bashar, and he had this amazing topic called Even That. And we're going to kind of take a deep dive into that concept today and talk about even that.
Yeah, I probably should have named it something different. People are like, what is even that?
Well, well, I mean, I did make a subtitle like even that can serve you staying in a positive mindset. So, the whole point is no matter what shows up with the idea of God consciousness, unity consciousness, that you're the only one in the room, everything that shows up is showing up because you either consciously created it or unconsciously created it. So, clearly, as an infinite being, it must serve you somehow. The question is, if it's not really something you prefer, how is it serving you, and what can you change to then experience something that you do prefer? So that's kind of the nutshell of what we're going to take a deep dive into today.
Yeah, it's all those things that you're like, man, I wish this would just go away. I don't like this. This needs to change. Um, all those things are there because, like Hank said, you either created it or it's there to show you,
Yeah.
teach you, help you understand something better. And it doesn't always, I say it doesn't come in pretty packages sometimes.
Right. And really something unconscious or consciously, somehow you're creating it. And then the way that Bashar really broke it down, I made some notes from I really went through it, and but I thought was like the most real relevant things. And one of the things he said is like the only judgment, quote unquote, I'm using this in air quotes, that you really require is the observation of discernment when something does show up. Does it serve me or does it not? If it doesn't, then you start moving on. Well, what can I do to create the things that I do prefer? If it doesn't, or if it does, then you know you're happy. Oop, phone's going off. If it does, then it's like, great. How can I create more of that? The thing that sticks us is when we say, I don't prefer that. That sucks. That stinks. And we're adding a judgment to it because now we're making it more significant than the rest of creation. And then that's where that saying really comes from: what you resist persists. And we end up in a cycle of creating the things that we don't prefer over and over and over again.
Yeah, and somebody, what was I, Instagram yesterday, and somebody actually posted a little blurb about this exactly. If there's something that you want or desire to change, like a relationship or a job or whatever that you're in that you really don't like, and you're like, I don't like this, I want it to change, you're in resistance to it. And what they recommended doing is accept it. Accept it as if, what if this never changes? What if this never changes? And then you become into an empowered state. And from there, you can make a decision as to whether you want to stay in this or not.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. There was like, oh, no. I was trying to think of, there was something that he said specifically about it, but like it's like if you resist it at all, it's really the question of how does this serve me now? And he even gave this example of, if you look at your past, like I come from a history of professional drinking. I made some really interesting choices. I made some really interesting financial choices, made choices all around that a lot of people would look back and be like, wow, you wouldn't want to be proud of that or talk to that at all. But it says if you invalidate the past that brought you to who you are today that you do prefer, it's like you're invalidating the stepping stones that got where you are. So even your past, like that's one of the greatest things, because we head trip about all the things that we're in judgment of in the past. But those are the very things that really created the we or the me that I could be today, to then help other people, on their stepping stones. So like, it's really
Absolutely.
everything. It's so essential to really embrace it, love it, and like, how does it serve me, or how can I allow it to serve me?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I actually forgot, I'm doing a little stress detox course that I forgot to mention because of these little things, that energy is so important. I'm trying to find a link right now to, like, because I never sent it to you. But yeah, so it's all about kind of when you're able to be more aware, and when something shows up that you don't prefer, then what is it that it's there to teach you? And a lot of times we don't see this until the purest example of this is, we don't see it until like a year or two down the road, and you look backwards and you're like, oh, now I understand why I went through that. or what happened in that event, what I had to learn, and why it was there to serve me and to show me something different. And I kind of had to go through it, and I could have gone through it a hell of a lot easier, but I didn't see because I didn't know the questions to ask. And that was, way back when I didn't have all the tools that I do now.
Yeah,
So it's like you look back.
we weren't taught to question as children. It's like, it's my way or the highway. Do as I say, or and not wait. What is it like? Do as you're told, not. You know what the saying I'm trying to get to? Like,
Yeah,
don't do as I. I cannot think of the saying, but it's like, do what I tell you, but don't question why, and don't like, be empowered to model me instead. Like, just do as you're told, kind of energy. And we're taught not to think for ourselves. Even like the standard schools, it's not done in a way. It's like very confined, multiple choice answers. It's only one of these four. Don't think outside the box type of mentality. Well, with math, I guess it is kind of like a one way or the highway answer. But in general, though, it's really more about like critical thinking is what education should be, and teaching how to think and question for yourself and to expand your own consciousness. Now, we do have Debbie just tuning in saying good morning. Good morning, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
And if anybody's commenting on Dr. K's Facebook, I don't think she made it public, so we cannot see it. So we're not ignoring you if you make a comment there, but you're welcome to ask questions, make comments. We love for this to be. I know
I just I could do that right now.
Sure. I just looked. That's how I knew. Oh, and I see you sent me the link.
I sent you the link. So I didn't make it public, and now it's going to listen. Well,
yeah, now you can hear me in the background talking.
Goodness. All right. Well, I'll have to remember that for next time. I don't want to go up on tangents here.
This is for the de-stressor program?
Yep. So we did a full detoxing of the physical body the first time around. For those of you that missed it, we did a whole physical, everybody got a kit and did some physical detox on the liver and gut, because it is really important. If you have all these, we're going on a second of a tangent, but if you have all these things, sugar and all these things in your system, it makes it more difficult to do this critical thinking and be able to observe, because you're so like tired and worn down and anxious, and then it's more challenging to kind of see. So we did a whole physical detox and really cleaning out the system so that you feel lighter, because when you eat better and you clean out your system, you feel lighter, you're better able to make these awareness types of decisions. So now we're at that stage. We got to clean out some of the energy that's kind of wreaking havoc in your life. So we're going to stress detox, because stress is really just in here. Everything's just in here. And when you look at the average person down on the street, you don't know, they could be the most stressed out person in the whole wide world, and they look super happy to you. So everything is really in our heads. We create everything in our heads, just like what we're talking about now. Critical.
And we create those based off our belief system. And what Bashar was talking about is, if you don't prefer something and you find yourself in judgment of it, then you really want to start thinking, well, where do I have a belief that is allowing me to not be in total allowance of that? And maybe it's the way that your parents taught you to empower the neighbor and how they're looking at you over your own knowing. Or, if the rest of the family looks a certain way, you need to eat like us and have our diet so you look like us. Like, that's really a big one. Like, and then you are all of a sudden getting these bad, quote unquote, these habits that are starting to put you into a place where you're creating unconsciously. And because even if, like, look at me and my gallbladder incident, what was I doing unconsciously that was then leading to this whole thing where I got hospitalized because of my gallbladder, because of my unconscious choices? And how did that serve me? I had a huge awakening because of that experience. And so, like, I looked at that thing as like, oh, wow, this $15,000 literally medical bill that I just got, how does that serve me, right? And I didn't look at it as a wrongness. It was a wake-up call and well worth every penny.
It is. Sometimes you look back and you spent some money on something and you're like, you know what? Now you look back and it's like, that was worth it. It was really worth it, because look at what I got out of it. But when we're in the bottle, we don't see the label. That's kind of the scenario one of my mentors used. And you don't see what's going on. And sometimes you need a little support from somebody from the outside that is intuitive and sees, okay, like, this is what's going on. That's one thing I really, it's my niche with my clients, to see, oh, look, this is a scenario, and this is really the crux of what you need to heal. I have a client now that's got a lot of heavy duty health issues. And I'm like, this is what you need to heal. You really, 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 really You need to focus on this nagging relationship with your husband and having a talk of everything, all these things that have come up in the past that you feel very hurt by. Because once you release that energy, however it is accepted by him, good or, good or bad, I use those terms, but you will release that and miracles can happen from there. And my concern is this condition, health condition, will continue to percolate until something's released here. So, but a lot of resistance won't do it.
Well, sometimes they have a saying in the program of AA that sometimes you need to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, where you're in a state so long, it's like a pressure cooker that eventually, and this is how I got sober and how my life changed last February, I made a decree to the universe, this must change. And I put no attachment on how that happened. I just knew that change needed to occur, and then everything changed. So it's oftentimes just putting that declaration in the universe and then getting out of the way to allow it to show up however it's going to show up. And if it shows up not preferred, and I'm using that on purpose instead of good and bad. It's either you prefer it or you don't. Don't label it as good or bad. I don't prefer it. I'm not adding any significance to that. But now what could I do to create the preferred outcome in my life without giving that significance either? And that's where you have this freedom and flexibility, because you've made all elements of creation equal. And then you become the conductor of the symphony of your life and be able to really start making it magic, because you're not falling into the trap of judging something and then invalidating that which you prefer or don't prefer.
Yeah, so even those little pains that you're having, those little health conditions that show up, they are there to serve you in some way. They're trying to get you out of your own way for a better life. The trick is to find the crux of it and go, oh, okay, this is what this is trying to tell me, and go ahead and move past that. And this is where I think a lot of people get stuck. It's, oh my gosh, I have this, and I was talking to somebody yesterday. Well, I been focusing on my health, been doing everything. But what is this trying to tell you? Because there's usually very often a much deeper message in pain and health conditions, in life conditions, in relationships, in jobs that aren't working out. Something wants you to move on. Your soul wants you to move on to something better, something brighter, the next step, because we've been in this little circle for a long time, this little rat chase that you're doing, but we don't see it. And so the signal gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And even that little thing that you look at that's now huge, and you're like, how the heck did this get so out of control?
Yeah, and things don't have to get to that point. As humanity, we're moving from this space of being individuals to being the observer of our own experience. And as you step into this observer role, where it was just the I, where you're in disillusionment because you don't have like a different perspective in order to be able to see what's really going on, kind of seeing that golden tapestry, if you will. You just don't have the same point of view. You don't have the same, you don't have the high ground yet. But as you start to step into this observer role, you do have the ability to look more and more in detail about how your life is showing up and what you can do to shift it. But it always helps. Like Dr. K and I talk a lot off air about what's going on in life, and like different ways to help each other like shift into like a different point of view. Because if you change your point of view, you change your belief, you change how reality shows up around you. And then you can start, instead of going on that winding road of the same thing, you can actually break into a spiral possibility and really have your life show up in a whole nother way.
Yeah, we're often like, well, I've done this and it's not changing. It's not changing. Things aren't any better. Somewhere you're probably still sitting in the same circle of things, and so a viewpoint has to change, a perception has to change, because somewhere you're feeding the same energy. So I do think it's a good exercise to just sometimes get out of the resistance of, okay, this isn't changing, and what you resist persists. Yeah, because often it doesn't seem like a resistance. Like, I just want this to change because I hate where I'm in, the space that I'm in. I hate the relationship. I hate the job. I hate that I have all this pain. You're in resistance to it. You don't want it, right?
Yeah.
You don't want this.
Reminds me of your analogy of squeezing the sponge. When you want it so bad that you squeeze that sponge, and that sponge can't do anything but not receive. It has no space to receive. And that's where allowance is like the art of not squeezing the sponge so that you could receive a different possibility.
It's the same scenario. It's, I don't want this, I want that. So I'm squeezing for that, but there's no release. It's just a squeeze towards something else, or disapproval, or not wanting what you're in. So it's still a form of resistance. So when you just kind of sit back and release and say, okay, I'm just going to accept this as it is, I'm not going to give it any more power. And like, what if it never changes? And from there, when you just go, all right, I have to accept things the way they are, suddenly you just release an energy. You just like, okay, I have to make the best out of the situation. I'm just going to breathe into it and release. And that's when things start to change. That you're in a different position to receive then.
Yeah. And then once things start to change, what do you think the best possible thing to do to reinforce that change is? I know this is Dr. K talks about it all the time. Gratitude.
Exactly.
Like being thankful for when, like, if you're not focusing on the scarcity and you find $20 on the floor, like immediately thank the universe for it. And then also getting out of the mindset that the only way to receive something is one idea of what you have. Like money is a great example for abundance. Like, is money the only way you can receive abundance? Whether somebody gives you a car or gives you a little vibrating exercise thing that you want for your office, you know, there's all different ways that you can that you can get abundance.
Absolutely. Yep. So what is it in your life that you don't like right now? And you really want some shifting and changing around?
Yeah. And
Anybody
whatever that thing is,
comment?
love it. But we had all we had is the good morning. People are just like, even this you're talking about? No. Yeah, we just had Debbie say good morning. But if anyone has questions or comments, you're welcome to join in. And if you joined in before the beginning and are like, I don't even know what they're talking about, but they're talking about a lot of the same thing. We're talking about this concept from Bashar, who's a channeler, who would say that whatever shows up in your life, no matter if it's preferred or not preferred, the idea is that you say, even that is here to serve me because you created it on some level, consciously or unconsciously. It has shown up from a process of who you're choosing to be or not be in the world. And if you can go about it from that standpoint, you can then ask the question, what belief in me needs to change to shift what's showing up from what I don't prefer to what I do prefer, without assigning any judgment or significance to any of it. It is really the art of allowance and being in the world but not of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's really quiet this morning, or they're like not understanding the topic.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I see the viewers going up and down. Those are like, sometimes they're like, this is interesting. They're like, sometimes they're like, even this doesn't serve me, I'm out. No, but truly, this is like a really important topic. And hopefully, even if you don't want to ask a question, it's sinking in on a level that's going to allow you to move forward with a different possibility of receiving everything that shows up in your life. Because if you receive it as a creator, you can then use whatever you're receiving to create something different, because you are the creator. Look what you created. And okay, I created this. Great. What could I create from this? Just like engineers, they will repurpose things. That's what we're doing, is we're repurposing what has shown up to create a greater possibility. And we can only do that if we actually receive and are an allowance of what shows up instead of pushing it away. That's like that spare parts thing in the garage where you have all the things that never quite, when you put furniture together, you have these extra parts and you just throw them somewhere. You have all these things. Like, what could you actually build and create with it if you were to be an allowance that you have these parts? What could I do with them instead of shoving them somewhere?
Yeah. What I'm just hearing you say is everything in your life is there to help you learn a lesson of some sort and move forward and be better and get better. We often we're like, oh, don't even see it. Don't even. Yeah, I see it all the time, but when you're in it, you don't see it.
And the visual Spirit's giving me is like a compass. Everything that shows up in your life is like those little points on like where you're recalibrating to the direction that you'd like to go. But if you're not really receiving the point, then you can never make that next calibration to make your next turn or choice. So it's really everything is a tool for you.
It is.
It absolutely is.
And your guides, your angels are always looking at you like, she's not getting it. Let's throw something else in there because they're not getting it. And sometimes they make it a little, like I said, it doesn't come in a pretty package.
I think my angels over the last year they got out like a whole bunch of popcorn and are sitting there like, well, I wonder what this crazy dude's gonna do next. This is better than a telenovela, right? No,
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if source energy laughs at us. I always say
no,
like
only love. Only love. I really look
crazy
at it
humans.
as like a child. Like when I look at the kids and they're like playing and they're being like silly, they're just being kids. And in the eyes of the divine, we're just, the children of the universe figuring out our way. And you wouldn't fault a
Yeah.
child for spilling a glass of milk, nor does the divine fault us for missing the mark sometimes and what we choose to be and what we choose to do.
Yeah. I always say like I have this saying to myself. I say, thank God God is patient because man, if I had to look down at all these people and go crazy humans, man, they like, don't see it, don't get the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I don't know. There's just no questions.
No, that's fine. Just a recap though, in the comments, Dr. K has a de-stressor course coming up. You can follow the link and you can take a look and sign up for that if you like.
Yeah,
The
please
next
do.
couple days are my last days at Emergence of Being. I'm moving
Oh,
from North Olmsted to Westlake. If you go to emergenceofbeing.com, you can see a link to the new location. It's being built to suit, including soundproof walls, so I won't annoy my neighbors. And it's gonna be really fun, and I'm planning to have an inaugural concert there to kind of welcome and usher in the space. So stay tuned for more information. I won't be in the new space till May 1st, so I'll be a month kind of in between locations.
he'll be a nomad. But Hank did a wonderful, wonderful sound healing concert this past Friday, and it was just zen, man. It was great.
I
It was
know.
really great.
And then Dr. K's like, why haven't I shown up
Like
to
that's
these?
exactly what
I've
I went
had
home and I'm like,
4 years.
Dad.
4 years of a concert, at least 4 years of a concert every month. And Dr. K waits until the last possible moment. And she's like, now I'm going to show up and I'm willing to receive.
I like, yeah, I was like, even that, right? For this, like, I did like, sure, oh yeah, I'll come, I'll make it one of these days. Yeah, I'll get there. And I'm like, boy, yeah, I should have. It's, yeah,
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, what I do with my concerts is I set up like an altar space. This time it was a crystal grid that Seven made, and I open up with the four elements of the Hakokuna tradition: the earth, the water, calling all these things, and then I play crystal bowls, do chanting, and really this particular concert, the theme was bringing the rainbow tribe of humanity together. But every concert's different. Like sometimes it's the art of allowance, sometimes it's healing the ancestors, and we take a deep dive energetically on this journey of sound to help these things shift within us and really just like change reality.
yeah. If you haven't gone, it's great.
Yeah.
Do you stream those too, Hank, or
I
they're not
don't.
live?
I did it
Okay.
once, and what I realized is when I do it like a live stream, there's like this weird energy. Like I may record them and post them, but doing it live when people are coming and going, there's a I'm aware of like a change in the energies, and
Okay.
it puts me in too much flux. So like I would either do
Gotcha.
it online only, or I may post them after. Now I do take the audio clip and I make that available to Patreon members. So like that is something where you can get the audio of it, but it's not like the actual visual, but you do get the sound and the chanting and all that. And that's on the link in the video as well. You can sign up if you're interested in that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you really need to just get clarity and clear out, it was great. It was really, really wonderful. So
Yeah.
there's so many modalities of healing that pick one that resonates and go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for showing up. Quiet group. But
Yeah.
if you have questions in the replay, please make them tag me or Dr. K so we are sure that we will see them and we can always address questions on next week's stream.
Yeah. And
All right.
and what are you in resistance to? Check that out.
All
Think
right.
about it.
Until next time, everyone, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.